Yeah. So hi all. This is Mahesh. I'm working for an CMM level 5 company as an ETL test lead, and uh, I just wanted to showcase what the ETL testing we do, what exactly we do in the ETL testing, what are the prospects of ETL testing going forward, and I will touch base on with the advent of big data, how the ETL market or the environment will be having a big boost and how the career options are there. Okay, so before we have a brief start, right, I just wanted to make sure we all know about what BI, business intelligence, is all about. Okay, so in real-time environment, we have multiple systems that range from ERP, CRM, HRMS systems, finance, external sources like marketing data that is coming from multiple sources. There are a lot of SEO, SMO organizations which get lot of data feed, which after a lot of churning will become an information. This is used by companies in order to have an effective marketing or sales strategies. So a raw data is in the form of, it can be in the form of a database, it can be form of spreadsheets, flat files, XML, or legacy systems like mainframes, DB2. These things needs to be, these are all heterogeneous systems. Now these data need to be changed into information way, which people see it as some advantage for them. So that's where the transformation part comes, and this is copied into their respective data warehouses, enterprise data warehouses. This then is looked in the form of reports or analytical reports or forecasting, etc. So on a whole, a typical BI system has multiple sources which then is transformed and moved into a data warehouse, or it can be a database itself and then looked in form of reports. So ideally, right, we generally think in terms of data, which is moved into business value, which is seen in a different way by different people. Just think like that. Just think like this. A salesperson has a little visibility, but if you think of a sales manager or say area sales manager, he has more visibility about the data that is coming. So for him, what the data is coming is, he looks it in a different way. A salesperson looks in a different way. So that's where the data is in. So that's where a data that is present is shown in an information way. So we generally call it as analytics or forecasting. So the process of changing this data into business value, there are, as shown in the last slide, there are many ways of doing it. One is the data cleansing, and then is the ETL transferring, and then embedding it into the BI. It can be a transactional BI or it can be an analytical BI. So this is used by the business in making the decision making, process management, performance management, diagnosis and analysis. And there are a lot of reporting that depends on the hierarchy or the detailed reports. Now, after seeing all this, we are saying that there's a lot of data that is needed and that is being migrated into a data warehouse. Why are we saying a data warehouse and a database? In reality, both are the same, but how we see the data in the database is different. How we see the data in data warehouse is different. So generally we say data sources or database as OLTP systems, that is online transaction processing systems. Whereas data warehouses are the historical or analytical data storing devices where it is used for OLAP process, that is online analytical processing. So physically both are the same. Both database and data warehouse both are same as database. But how we see the information or data in it is that makes the difference between database and data warehouse. Now, migrating this from database to data warehouse, it can be a simple process using mirroring. In database, we have the mirroring concept. Mirroring helps you to copy the exact data from the one database to other database. But we are talking in terms of business value, right? So how we see the data will become different. So that's the reason we do a lot of transformations. We change the data, we clean the data. We want to see data in our we want to see the data in our defined format. So that's where we need to transform the data. That is the reason we use the ETL tools. So a typical ETL, if you see in real time for any business, there are a lot of files that come as an input. There can be a database system, there can be a spatial database, DBMS system, which means spatial database system is we have many areas or countries where the business caters. So in US, it's a different market, whereas India or China, it's a different market. So based on the market, they have the database accordingly. So these all data should be made into a common format because CEO is worldwide. So he wants to see all the countries' data. So in that sense, he need to confirm the entire spatial database systems into his required format. So that's where ETL again comes in the system. It can be an OLAP system also. A data warehouse can be again copied into data marts. That is, a big business again can be split into the areas of interest. So that's where again ETL comes into place. And there are a lot of web services that are in place. These days, the cloud, the marketing strategy is different from one location to the other location. So there are number of third-party vendors who do the what do you say their respective business, which is used as information by companies. For example, if you take Amazon, Amazon sells in China and US. China market is different, US market is different. So the local market trends, Amazon may not have a complete picture of it. So they take the help of third-party vendors who give the marketing trends, which is embedded into Amazon services. Amazon will then do the forecasting of which product will be sold in which location, where is the demand is, where the supply is less. So that's where even ETL comes into picture. So now transforming that data from third-party vendors to the local Amazon database, it's a heterogeneous system. So even here, the ETL plays a major role in transforming the data into the useful format of Amazon. Now, speaking about all these things, uh, there are a lot of ETL tools in the market. Generally, they are classified as open source or commercial. So, commercial are the ones which they provide the seat license or concurrent license, and based on the number of users, you use it. Whereas open source, it's an open market, it's a free one. Only thing is you have to customize yourself. So there are a lot of tools, but of all, Informatica is the one of the topmost, apart from IBM Data Stage. The reason being, right, Informatica, it has inbuilt customizations. If you have Oracle CRM or HRMS system like Fusion or Oracle ERP apps, so for that, the database inbuilt mappings are already created in Informatica. So it's just like plug and play. You plug in into the ERP system, obviously it will convert the mappings. It's just that the mappings names are already created. You need to just give the source and target details. So what it is happening, 90% of the work is pre-done by Informatica itself. So it saves a lot of, what do you say, um, the man hours that are spent in developing that ETL project. So, so that's the reason many people go with Informatica. And there are alternates with the open source like Pentaho, Talent. So Pentaho also has an advantage because it has an inbuilt BI system. BI system in the sense, the reporting part is also embedded with the ETL. So people feel if it's a mid-sized company or a small-sized company, people go with Pentaho. But if it's a big size company, they ideally prefer Informatica because it has an inbuilt mappings with it. Now comes the part of ETL testing. So seeing all what BI and ETL is all about, right? Now, what is the role of a tester in this ETL projects? Why is it different to normal testing? What makes ETL testers special than the normal QA testing guys? The reason being, right, we analyze the data, we know how the data modeling is. The data modeling is how we see how we represent the data. So that completely differs to the normal QA. So the normal QA testers, they do the UI testing or the database testing. It's just that how the data comes from the database. But ETL testers will start analyzing how the data should be shown so that it would be very faster, very reliable, and very accurate. So for that, right, the prerequisite should be database modeling. You should have the knowledge about database modeling, a brief idea on PLSQL, and a good knowledge on SQL. And then the data warehouse concepts like what's a dimension is all about, what a fact is, what a measure is, how we see the slowly changing dimensions. So if you have a basic idea on these, that would suffice. And last but not least, Excel sheet. So we usually compare the data using Excel. So we should have a knowledge on Excel and macros. Ideally, in the market, there are less ETL automation tools. There are automation tools like BI Validator, ETL Validator, Query Search, etc. But what the visibility of these automation tools is as of now limited. So ideally, many of the companies or many of the ETL testers, they suggest the Excel sheet because it's very easy for comparing the data. So we should have a knowledge on Excel macros. So if you see on a high level, right, how is this ETL testing process all starts about? So the first and foremost thing is we need to identify all the list of data sources from which the data is moved into the a data warehouse or a data mart. So if you see the process, multiple sources move into the staging database. This is where we convert all the data into a required format. It may or may not in the actual format, but we are just making sure that the heterogeneous system is moved into a homogeneous format. So this is where we pull all the data into the staging database. From there, we do the transformations and
Mahesh,
migrating or
sorry to
loading to the
interrupt.
database. Yeah, Manush.
Can we maximize this slide? Because people are saying it is very hard to read those things.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So is it visible now, Manush?
Yeah, Mahesh, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah. So now when we migrate this data into the data warehouse, there comes a part of Cube. Cube is nothing but the BI reporting part. It can, if we talk in terms of SSRS, we call it as Cube. If we talk in terms of OBI reporting tool, we call it as an RPD. RPD is representation, presentation, and display. So where we churn the data as in how we want to see it. We process it, we churn it, we analyze it, and then pull it in the form of reports. So now in the testing perspective, we need to identify the list of data sources that are present and how we want to see that. That is in the form of data acquisition. So what is required, what not is required is defined in this data acquisition. And from there, we will transform the data based on the business logic. So we want few tables, we don't want few tables. We want few columns, we want to see the columns as an aggregate, average, subtraction. Some functions will be applied on the data that we want to see from the source. So we do the dimensional modeling as well as the ETL logic is applied. So we need to test even that. So once that is done, we build it, we deploy the code, we populate the data in all the systems, source, target, we migrate the data. So we need to test whether all these are done exactly correct, the correct way or not. So the ETL logic is correct, the process flow is correct, the scheduling is correct. So we need to validate that. So once that is done, we see the data in the front end. So ideally it would be the reports. It can be any reports like Cognos, um, OBI, SSRS, Tableau. In the market now, ClickView is there, HBase is there. Okay, and with the advent of big data, there are a lot of tools that will be coming in the reporting part also. Okay. So once that is done, we will start doing the test data, we will start analyzing the data flow. So how the source system is converted into the target, how the data is shown, any additions, deletions, how if any filtering is done, we will validate it. And then we will see it in the front end. Okay. Now, on a broader way, we have to classify what are all the ETL testing types that we do actually. The first and the foremost thing is schema. Schema or the metadata testing. In the sense, it's like a skeleton to the data warehouse or a database. So when we are copying data from database to data warehouse, the schema or the metadata that is present. So schema here in the sense is the list of tables, the columns present in it, the other function, the other things like stored procedures, triggers, functions, sequences, everything should be migrated into data warehouse. Now, how we see these tables in the database, how we see in the data warehouse may or may not be the same. So we have to make sure that the structure of the database and data warehouse should be validated. So the initial ETL testing includes schema testing. Then comes the white box testing. White box testing in the sense, now we are writing the logic to migrate the data from database to data warehouse. So we write this logic in any of the ETL tools like Informatica, SSIS, Talent, Pentaho, etc., etc. So we have to validate this ETL logic. So that is either in the form of mappings, jobs in the form of SSIS. So we have to verify this transformation and ETL logics. So that makes it as a white box testing. Now once that is done, then we initiate the ETL process. So ETL process, if it is successful, then we have to verify whether the data is migrated from source to target. So this is data testing. So data testing, we have to make sure the quality as per the requirement, whether it's as per the quality, whether it's complete, whether it's accurate. So we have to make sure these three are complied when we do the ETL loading. So in parallel or in tandem to this data testing, we have to make sure the load testing is also accurate. In a sense, if the system is a new system, we have to completely migrate data from database to data warehouse. So that's an initial load. So we call it as generally full load. So we have to make sure whether all the tables in the data warehouse is having zero data before the ETL run is done. And once ETL full load is completed, whether the data is migrated correctly or not. Now once the system is stable or it's up and running, people usually go for incremental load or delta load. So incremental or delta load is once the data is changed after every scheduling time, whatever data is loaded after last ETL run, we need to load into the target. It is unnecessary to load the data completely again. It doesn't make any sense. So that's where the logic of incremental load or delta load comes into picture. So that also we have to make sure whether if it's an incremental load, only the data that is changed after last ETL run is migrated or not. So that's load testing. So that's the type of load testing. Now once that is done, we have to do the integration or distributed systems testing. As said earlier, right, from data warehouse, we again move the data into multiple data marts, the subject matter data warehouses. So once the data is moved from data warehouse to the multiple systems, we have to make sure the integration is working fine or not. Which means if from the data warehouse we are having HR based data mart, only HR based table should be shown in that data mart. We need not show the marketing, sales, or IT side data tables in the HR data mart. So we have to do that testing. Now, ideally, after this, once the system is stable or once we know the system, right, we have to start analyze the mappings that are written or the jobs that are being written. So it's independent of the tool. We should start analyze the performance of the tool, because these days, if you see, there are millions of data that is in the database. Now, when we are using some systems with some certain specifications, we have to make sure that it abides to that performance. So few tables may take more time to load, few tables may take little time to load. But the system should be capable enough to do the performance based on whatever is the row size of the source and target. So we should start analyzing the performance. So that's where performance testing comes into picture. As of now, there are no automation tools with the performance testing. We have load runner or win runner in QA, but for ETL testing, we don't have anything as such. It's just that we have to note the runtime, the memory that is being captured during the ETL run. So it's a crude form as of now till date, but this is a place where in future there's a lot of scope in performance testing side of ETL. And last but not the least, automation testing. So we should find or find the scope or areas where we can do the automation testing. Ideally, schema testing and data testing can be automated. White box testing or load testing till date is not yet automated, considering the complexity in writing the logics or transformation logics in the tool. So only that the schema validation or the data validation can be done using automation. So performance testing and automation are limited these days, but they do a lot of help in analyzing how the ETL mappings are being written. Okay. So after the end of this session, right, you will actually map yourself to the normal QA process. So what we do in the QA will be similar to what we do in ETL testing also. But the only difference is how you see the system is different. So the same, we start analyzing requirements, we start preparing the test plan, test cases, we start preparing the test data. We'll find the entry and exit criteria, we execute the test cases, we find the test results, we do the defect management, right? Similar way we'll do it in ETL testing also. But it's just that how we see the system, how we do is a little bit different to what the normal QA process is. So end of this training session, you will have a complete picture of how and what we will do in the ETL testing, which is and how it is different to the normal QA process. And from the process management perspective, right? It's just not that we execute the test cases, we find the test defects, etc. We also do the process management in ETL. So if you see, there are many areas in the complete ETL testing phases. So we will analyze how the entry criteria and exit criteria should be defined for testing. So end of this session, you will understand how to define an entry criteria and how to define the exit criteria, how the test readiness is there, how you define the test completion. This is more important, being considering that this particular data is used for analytics and reporting and forecasting, because a slight difference in what we forecast will cost millions. in a real-time example, there was a case where one of the former HSBC employee, he what do you say, in the ETL he kept a small row where 0.1% of every transaction goes into his account, which was not caught in the ETL process. So for every transaction, he was getting money. So though the testing was completed, they didn't what do you say, look into the exact implications of it. So they didn't see the correct reporting, what should be tested, how to see the data in the front end. So they just forgot a little part of it. So that costed them a millions of dollars for them. So these all things could have been caught if the testing was done completely and the reporting part was seen what was required exactly. So they didn't analyze it, how to pull the report, how to see the data. So the total amount, they were just looking at how much is the total amount of transaction, but they didn't split into to whom it was sent. So if they would have created a correct report, or if they would have correct testing approach, they would have caught it in the initial stages itself. So why we are specifying more on this ETL testing process is we want to make sure the process and methodology, what we want in the test environment, what we should be there in the test plan and test design, the quality checks, or the what do you say, the quality checks, what should be there in the quality checks, we should all have it in the ETL testing. So to summarize on a high level, right, ETL testing, we do the uh, metadata or schema testing, then is the ETL logic, then we do the data load, it can be initial load or a full load, and then is the business testing, the UI, the data side testing, the interface testing, the integration testing, everything will be done. And last but not least is the regression testing. This will be in the form of data feeds, it can be in the form of data marts, it can be in the form of a data warehouse also. Uh, Before I'm done, right, I just wanted to make sure, I just want to give you a projection that ETL testing may not be that widely used these days, but it is rapidly increasing because with the what do you say, with a lot of changes in the way we see the database or data warehouse, there are a lot of tools that are coming. For a simple example is big data. Big data, Hive, how we see the data is seen in a different format. A simple example is if you search something on the Facebook, right? There are a lot of search results that come. It it ranges from many things. It can be a video, it can be an MP3 file, it can be a Word document. So how is that Facebook able to find out these many search results? It's just because it is using a big data database like Cassandra in the backend. So what it is doing is it is taking data from multiple sources and it is pulling in the form of nodes and showing it as in the front end. So when there are many heterogeneous systems, there's obviously the need of ETL will be there. So going forward, right, ETL has a bright future and ETL testers, there will be huge demand. As of now, there is a lot of demand, but going forward, it will be a wild leap will be there in the number of ETL testers that are required in the market. Mm, So I'm done with actually. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Mahesh. So some questions in chat are there. So I'll just let you know. Uh, One question
Yeah.
is ETL is a tool or process?
ETL testing is the process. for that, there are many tools like Informatica and Data Stage, SSIs. So there are tools which will help in doing that process.
Okay. And next question from Suvarna, I guess. What is data mart?
Okay, so data mart is a sub-selection or a sub-part of a data warehouse. If you see a larger organizations, right, like Amazon or Flipkart or something like that, they have the marketing section, they have the sales section, they have the IT section, they have the HR section. So HR data for Amazon will be million. There are actually 10 to 20 lakhs of employees in Amazon. So their data is completely different. How they want to analyze it will be completely different. So searching in a large chunk of data is quite tedious and the performance will be low. Instead of that, if you have that separate section in a separate database, searching there will be very easy. So that's the reason people go with, apart from data warehouse, they will go for data mart. I hope that helped.
Okay. So next question is, what is the difference between load and performance testing? This question from Tanuja, I guess.
Okay, so load testing is if we have 10 rows in the source table, how the system is loading, how much time is it taking to load into the target. So if we increase the number of rows in the source, how much time it is taking to load. So that's the load testing. Performance testing is for ETL tool also, you have system specification like it's an 8 GB RAM or a 20 GB RAM. It has some 1 terabyte of ROM. So if there are a lot of mappings, 8 GB RAM will not suffice because it will 8 GB RAM will be split into 100 of mappings and it will obviously the system will slow down. So performance testing is more on the tool specific. Load testing is more on the number of rows that is being copied into from source to target. Did it suffice?
Okay. Uh, Next question is from Kumar. Can you just explain schema testing?
Schema testing or metadata testing is something like it's like skeleton. So source is having some structure. So list of tables will be there, the columns will be there. There will be constraints. So if you know, if you have a little idea on database, so it's more of normalized database. So the data will be with it's a more elaborated form. Like all the list of tables will be there, the relationship between primary key, foreign key, the relationship between the columns will be defined. Now, when you create a data warehouse, you will also create the list of tables. It will have columns, it will have primary keys, foreign keys, sequences, partitions, triggers, everything defined. So you have to make sure that whether the schema, how the structure of data warehouse is created is as per the requirement of the client. So that is schema testing. So
Okay.
someone is asking, should we have SQL knowledge? Yes, we should have a knowledge of SQL because that's where we test that's how we test the data completeness. In the sense, when we are migrating it from source to target, right? We write SQL queries to make sure what is the data in source and what is the data in target. Then we compare it using the Excel sheet.
Okay. So Mahesh, next question is, are testers involved in testing, in test mapping and transformation?
Uh, Testers are not involved in test mapping or test jobs creation. No, sorry, mapping or jobs creation. They have to have a knowledge on how to see the logic that is being written in the mapping or the jobs, because that makes the difference between us and database testers. So we know how to see the logic, where to see the logic. So we should know a knowledge about how a mapping is being written, what are the types of transformations, but
Okay.
we don't create them.
Okay. Next question is from Madhavi. What is needed? as a qualification and experience for becoming ETL tester?
We need to have a knowledge about database, how the database is created, the database modeling, or how to read the ER model. ER model is entity relationship model. So we need to know about how the database is created, how a data warehouse is created, what makes a database and data warehouse different. So we should have a basic knowledge about database and data warehouse structure.
Okay. Next question from Madhu. Is there any other better tool to perform my task? I think he uses Oracle ETL.
Uh, Oracle ETL ODI. I'm not using ODI. We are using. I used Informatica, SSIS, and now we are using Data Stage. Oracle ODI is also being. I have an idea about it. See, we should not be more worried about the tool. We should be worried about how we write the ETL logics. It's just that these tools are the front ends where we see the logic. So how different tools show the logic is being written will be different. So learning the tool is a 2-day or a 3-day task, but learning how the logic is written, how the dimensions and facts are defined, that makes the difference. So that is more important than the tool actually. But yes, we will. I'll make sure that I'll show all the majorly used tools like Informatica, SSIS, DataStage, and ODI from Oracle.
Okay. Next question is from Sayed. Is learning ETL will be enough to crack a job, or do we need to learn other technologies along with it to get the job?
No, no, ETL enough. ETL, see, actually, when we are a manual tester, we more do the functional or the front end testing. So having an advantage of knowing about the database is an added advantage. On top of it, if you know the data warehouse, we are in the creamy layer section. So if you are an ETL tester, then we know what a data warehouse is, how it functions, and we also know the PLSQL. So that is more than enough to enter into the job market.
All right. So next question is from Himansu. What tools will be used during this course, and will we have access to using them? I guess we do
Uh,
not provide any kind of access,
yeah,
right?
yeah, we don't actually provide any access. Uh, but if needed, we can have an offline discussion about it. We can actually do it, but we can have an offline discussion about it.
All right. So again, one question I think on automation. Can ETL testing be automated by Madhu?
Yeah, yeah. So we can automate it. There are tools like query search, ETL validators that are coming into the market. This can be more done using schema testing and data validation testing can be automated. The ETL logic validation or automation cannot be done because we have to integrate to that tool. So generally tools like Informatica or ODA they will not support this because you are plugging into their environment, right? But schema testing and data quality testing or data load testing we can automate it. We can even automate using a qtp or Selenium also.
Okay. So next question is when data is transferred from a source to target data warehouse, is data from other feeds such as website also transferred through an ETL or directly?
Yes, yes. So it's like plug and play kind of thing. So there are a lot of web services that comes from web feeds. Uh, so we connect to them. So it is either in the form as XML file, so that the web feed will be converted into an XML file or an CSV file or a notepad from where the ETL tool reads it using either delimiter logic or some tab space, tabs, comma separated. So based on the delimiter logic, it will convert the data into the staging environment. Staging environment is the common area where the heterogeneous systems will be converted into the form of tables and columns. We can do the web services, what do you say, we can also do the ETL on web services also.
All right. Next question is from Karthik.
Salesforce is,
Yeah, go ahead, man.
yeah. Salesforce is one typical example where Salesforce or any of the cloud companies, they will give it in the form of web services itself. Thus, that will be converted into our local environment using the ETL.
Okay.
Yeah.
One question from Karthik. Is there any easier way to test the dimensional and fact tables relativity?
Yes, we can do actually. There's a logic here using Excel sheet, which I'll be sharing in the coming classes. That will help us a lot in understanding how we do the dimensional and facts-based testing actually. It's an easy way of learning it actually.
Okay. One question from Bala. Is SQL is prerequisite for this course? How do we learn it?
Actually, during this course, I'll explain on the SQL what is required for doing the ETL testing. So we have a 5-day session on specifically for SQL itself. So it's a part of ETL testing. It's included in the course.
Okay. Next question is from Kamakshi. Is it required to be a manual tester before going to ETL tester?
Uh, See, manual testing will be explained as part of ETL testing. A little knowledge about how we write test cases, how we understand the requirements is required. But that is not what you say. It's not a tough job to learn it. While doing ETL testing itself, we'll have we'll analyze how to find the requirements, how to analyze the requirements, but it's just that we need to know or at least write how to write an ETL, how to write the test cases. We should have a basic knowledge about it.
Okay. One question is there a big difference in testing between ETL and BI?
Okay. BI is both ETL plus reporting. So BI, people generally think that it's just reporting, but BI suite is consisting of both ETL and reporting. So that should answer the question.
Okay. Two questions are there. Like they are asking, are we doing any project in this course?
Actually speaking, I'll show a small project, but it may or may not cover the entire transformation list. But I will show how we create a mapping, what should be tested in the mapping, what are all the sections that we should verify before completely saying that yes, we have done the ETL testing.
Okay. Question from Himanshu. What level of PLSQL knowledge is needed for this course?
Uh, Basic knowledge of how to read that logic that is being written in PLSQL is enough. We need not write any PLSQL codes because it's very complex if we start analyzing the ETL data validation. So ideally, right, we split the PLSQL into sub-SQLs and we map it in the Excel sheet. It's like this. If we are having 10 to 20 tables and having any decode or any functional logic written in PLSQL, we split it in our ways, like we write the sub-SQLs for those 10 tables and we map them into an Excel sheet. So, but if you have if you know how to, what you say, how to read the PLSQL, that would be enough. But it's not mandatory at all, actually.
Okay. Question from Ron. Does the data warehouse use the relational model concept?
It actually uses, but it's not. It's more of what you say, denormalized form. In the sense, in normalization, we actually follow this CRUD process where it would be very easy to create, read, update, and delete. But in data warehouse, we are creating data warehouse in order to read it very easily. In the sense, though there are duplicates, there's no problem in data warehouse because we just want to read it faster instead of joining 10 to 20 tables, if you have the data in single table, similar to the views concept, it's enough. So it follows a relational model, but it's in the denormalized form.
Okay. One last question, Mahesh, from Padmaja. Do we have any kind of certification to become ETL tester?
As of now, small companies have started, but in the market, people are not looking for that certifications. It's just that a marketing stunt by these companies, but in the real market, people are not asking for ETL tester certification. But there are tool-specific certifications like Informatica certified professional, SSI certified professional, uh, this will be an added advantage because you know what to see, where to see in the tool. So if you have that certification, which means you know about the tool. Indirectly, you know where to see the logic. So ETL tool specification certification is there, but not ETL tester certifications.
Okay. I think we are done. There are no more questions.
There's one by Shivadama. Is heterogeneous database are different using different SQLs? See, we are not worried about the type of SQL because Oracle uses one format and SQL Server uses one format. Top or first 100 employees kind of thing is not there in Oracle. But we are worried about the data that is coming. So whatever is the SQL we write, we should make sure that the data is read correctly from the source. And when we are migrating it in a homogeneous system, say suppose source is DB2, SQL Server and Oracle, but target is only Oracle Server, we need to know how to write the SQL in each of it. So the syntax will be almost same in all the homogeneous databases. There's only slight difference. When we are doing the SQL classes, right, I will make sure that I will show these SQLs in terms of SQL Server, Oracle Server, or any other homogeneous databases. I'll make sure that I will show that. So ETL will just read it. It is not worried about the SQL logic. SQL actually. SQL is only the language which helps us in reading it. But for the backend, it doesn't require an SQL. It's just like plugging and playing folders. How system reads a folder? That's it. So we are not worried about it. ETL tool will take care of it. Sorry.
One question I can answer. I think Kamakchi is asking, is this video course or online course? So Kamakchi, this is a live training. You can join online, and we'll upload videos on our website, so you can also access later on. Okay. And there are some other questions. Mahesh, do we have time so we can answer those things?
Yeah, no problem.
So one question from Tanuja: which ETL tool is free to use?
Uh, Pentaho and Talent. Sorry, I'm running off nose. So Pentaho and Talent are two ETL tools which are free open source tools. We can download and look into it. Informatica has recently come up with a trial version also. We can do a try about it.
Okay. Question from Ron: with millions of rows, how can we make sure all the data is correct from source to target? Huge
Yeah.
snapshots of data. Means,
Yes, yes. So that's what. So if we know the business right, there will be repeated data. So we will try to skip them. So in SQL, we will write the business specific rules. For example, when Amazon has 10 lakhs of employees, suppose Amazon has 10 lakhs of employees, so they will be split based on the location. So when we are moving it from source to target, we will write SQL such that select employees from this location. So obviously, instead of 10 lakh records, it will have only 10 to 20,000 of rows. So we will make sure that this particular 10 to 20,000 rows are copied into data warehouse. Now testing these 10 to 20,000 of rows is very easy. because if we copy them into an Excel sheet, source and target on the same Excel sheet, using macros or simple VB script, we can compare the column to column and we can make sure that the data is loaded correctly or not. So if you see here, if you know the business logic, it's very easy. You split that 10 lakh records into based on business and compare. At one shot, we cannot do. So snapshots is that. Hope Ron, I have answered it.
Yeah, thank you, Mahesh. I don't see any other question.
Yep.
So, team, I have just pinged you on chat that if you have any query regarding this course, you can mail us at learn@itlearn.com, and you can, if you have any queries, just you can ask. Our team will reply that. And demo session will start from 19th of this month. So, thank you for joining this session. Mahesh, you want to say some words?
Yeah, so if you have any questions, right, whatever it is, please email us. We will be very happy to answer you guys. So I'm done.
Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you all for joining this session, and we'll meet on 19th. Thank you. Bye for
Okay.
now.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Good night, everyone.